1 in 10 women have endometriosis, and most of us don't even know. If you're in your 20s and you feel like crap, immediate sign to start looking deeper.
Are there any daily habits that support having a less painful cycle?
This is gonna sound so crazy and dumb, but literally making my bed. Do one thing every day that you can find consistency with. If you're a woman who has PCOS, please be getting checked for endometriosis and vice versa.
What types of pain are common? When is it a red flag?
Joint pain, lower back pain, pain radiating down your legs, built up pressure in the rectum, and it feels like you're being stabbed through the rectal cavity. It is terrible.
Period pain and period symptoms have been a thing for a long time, but women just haven't even been given the tools to realize like what's happening.
Something is changing in the world of women's health. It's like so cool for me because this is what I needed 10 years ago.
If you've ever curled up on the bathroom floor with a heating pad thinking there's no way that the pain that I'm experiencing right now is normal, you are not alone. You've probably been told that bad cramps are just part of being a woman, but what if that pain was actually your body waving a red flag at you, telling you that something is off? There is nothing that has been as normalized as being in pain as a woman. Let's unpack what your period pain can reveal about your health, your hormones, and the bigger picture, and even dive into a little bit of endometriosis, PCOS, and other conditions that you might be dealing with that you shouldn't be gaslighted into thinking is normal or just part of your womanhood. Hi, my name is Nathalia. I'm the host of the Ask Lively podcast, the show where we have real, unfiltered conversations about women's health, hormones, and your cycle. Ask Lively is powered by the Lively app. I think it's the most aesthetic period app that is out there on the market. It gives you tips on what to eat, move, and do in every cycle phase. It's a cycle syncing and pregnancy tracking tool that helps you understand your hormones, learn to work with your body instead of against it, and feel like your best self all month long. Every week we have women's health and hormone experts on the show to answer your questions, real, unfiltered, and give you the knowledge and the tools that you should have been taught about your body and your cycle a long time ago, so you can take control of your health, your body, and your life. Today we're being joined by Savannah. She's a clinical nutritionist who's not only lived through endometriosis and autoimmunity, but has helped countless of women decode their pain and take back their power through her socials. She is one of the leading voices in advocacy for endometriosis and understanding period pain. Savannah, thank you so much for coming on the Ask Lively podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I've had so many friends sending me your account, talking about period pain, talking about endo, and all of the advocacy work that you're doing. So I'm just so excited to dive so deep into this topic today. Thank you for making time to come on.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You guys, if you don't know, Savannah and I already recorded this podcast, and it was so good. And I had technical issues and we're having to refilm it, but I'm excited because I get to have this conversation again. And it was so good. Like I took so much out of it. And for anyone listening to this, I'm assuming if you clicked on this title, period pain in general, especially around your period and your cycle, is something that you've dealt with. And it's something that women have been so like gaslit and like normalized into thinking it's just like part of being a woman. So there is so much to talk about. But I wanted to ask you, Savannah, like how did you get started? Like, what was your journey into even becoming a clinical nutritionist and also becoming an advocate for endometriosis and even understanding like what period pain was normal and what wasn't?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my journey, I'll make this quick, but I'll kind of give you the full rundown about it. So when I was a senior in high school, I got into a car accident and it was my like sixth traumatic brain injury. So my love for all of this actually started because of the brain and me losing a lot of functioning and deciding I'm going to go to school and figure out what's going on at a deeper level here, which is crazy. I actually almost failed out of my first year of college because I had a traumatic brain injury and I'm like trying to study neuroscience and learn all about it. It worked. I got the degree. But it was really during that time in my life that I learned how important nutrition, movement, nervous system regulation, all of these things were in terms of helping me with my rehabilitation and recovery. I had no idea I even had endometriosis for another like 6 to 8 years. So throughout this time, I fell in love with health, with nutrition, helping other women. I started my private practice. I actually earned my master's degree in medical or clinical nutrition at this time. And there was a time on social media a few years ago, like right around COVID, where everybody started coming off of birth control. And I'll say right now, I'm not for or against birth control. I think it's a very personal decision, but I was at the point in my life where I was like, I've been on this for 12 years. I was put on birth
Yeah.
control when I was 14. I was like, let me figure out um, if my body's even able to function off of this, what it's like to just like be me. Boom, within 6 months, like full endometriosis, like symptoms, endo belly, crazy bloating, joint pain, so many things that, and symptoms that aren't even talked about. So it was at that point in my life where, well, it got a little dark there for a while while I was trying to figure out what was
Yeah.
going on. But once I figured it out, it's like I have to share about this because 1 in 10 women have endometriosis and most of us don't even know. So
Yeah. Well, and isn't there like a statistic that so many women don't even get diagnosed for like 7 years?
yeah, and it's also very similar for with PCOS. And honestly, if we're talking about endo, we have to talk about PCOS as well because the overlap is so crazy. If you're a woman who has PCOS, please be getting checked for endometriosis and vice versa. But yeah, statistically, at least, so I think 7 years is what they're saying now for most women that I talk to in my practice and in my DMs, like I'd say at least 10, 12 years on average is what I'm seeing.
It's crazy. It's insane. So diving straight into it, why is period pain so common? And I think so many women listening today are going to really resonate both with your story and just being like, I'm experiencing all these things. Like, I have no idea why I'm experiencing them. Why is period pain so common? Should we really be calling it normal? Is it normal?
Yeah, I actually was just going to say, I love that you said common and not normal because it is so common in the world. And I think that we are taught or not educated, honestly. Like when you think back to when you were in like elementary, middle school, when we start learning about the birds and the bees, kind of like we learn we're going to have a period and that's it. We don't learn about the phases of our cycle. We don't learn about anything, right? I understand that at that time we're young women or girls still, but we're not this is not discussed again throughout our life ever. We have to figure it out for ourselves, which is not how it should be. It is common. Most women, let's just talk about what like a typical quote normal period should look like. It's not comfortable, right? Your uterine lining is literally shedding. It's probably not going to be fun. You're not going to be enjoying
Right.
it. But when it comes to endometriosis, adenomyosis, true disease, you are crippled over, hunched over. I mean, even not on your period, for a lot of us, ovulation pain is very, very common. So I would also say here, especially since the last time we recorded this, endometriosis is being talked about. Like something is changing in the world of
Yeah.
women's health, and it's so cool. It's like so cool for me because this is what I needed 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of how many women are sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, it's finally starting to be talked about more. This does not mean that it's more common. This just means that finally women who have been living with this are learning about it. So,
No, I wanted to like touch on what you're saying even more because there are so many women that I talk to and hear about all the time where it's like they've been dealing with these symptoms, but like it's such a hard thing because people can't see it on the outside, right? Like if you like break a bone or you're experiencing like external pain, like people can see it, but when it comes to especially like your organs, like people can't see the amount of pain you're in. And I remember even growing up, like some of my friends who later found out that they had endo, like we would be taking tests or like a really important like even like sports games or practices or things that are happening, and they're bent over in pain, and like because it wasn't as talked about and like known, a lot of our coaches, especially like our male coaches, like would be like, oh, like they're just like coming up with excuses, like you're just weak. And there's like all of this, like, I love that you have a neuroscience background too, because the mental piece of it as well, like so many women, like you said, it's not that it's like all of a sudden coming out of nowhere and everyone has endo. It's like, this has been like period pain and period symptoms have been a thing for a long time, but women just haven't even been given the tools to realize like what's happening
yeah, and heard.
and heard.
Yeah.
What types of pain are typically considered common? And when is it like, okay, this is something I should look into? When is it a red flag?
Yeah, so I like to talk about pain and just symptoms on like an individual basis because pain doesn't necessarily mean you're only dealing with period pain or when you're bleeding, through menstruation or ovulation. Like those pains are real. So, we have menstruation pain, we have ovulation pain. A lot of when we're talking about endo specifically, there's so many more symptoms, autoimmune related symptoms here. Finally, some research coming out on this, but joint pain, back pain, specifically lower back pain, pain radiating down your legs, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, rectal pain. I call them butt zaps. I'm assuming TMI is not a thing here, but truly what it feels like is built up pressure in the rectum, and it feels like you're being stabbed through the rectal cavity. It is terrible.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It doesn't happen super often to me, but that's totally happened before, and I've never heard anyone talk about it. And
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of things in this conversation people listening are like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah, TMI is like not a thing for me. I talk about poop and periods all day long, and so it's very normal. But yeah, women will, if you've ever been sitting there and you're just like, oh, and you're
Yep.
like in a call or something, you're like have to like pretend like that's not happening. That is the worst. Like that's not to say that every woman who has that will have endometriosis. There's also a lot to say in terms of pelvic floor dysfunction, which typically does go hand in hand with, endometriosis or adenomyosis, but that's very common. And if you're experiencing a lot of these symptoms, especially most of these, that's when we should be considering, okay, I may need to try to get checked out for this.
why do you think period pain has been so like widely dismissed or normalized in women's health?
I have nothing to say here. Because women's health has never been taken seriously, unfortunately, when it comes to clinical research. I started my professional career in clinical research, and I still do work within clinical research. And in terms of when women were expected to be in clinical trials, 1993, I know that seems like a long time ago, but in terms of how long we've been doing research, women weren't even required to be included in clinical trials until 1993. And even then, most of our clinical trials to this day, as I said, I still work in clinical trials. Gender bias is very real, and we don't always have equal balance of men and women. With that being said, how we treat women and care for women is based off of the male body. So that's what I'll say about that.
Which is so wild because like you cannot take advice that's geared towards a 24-hour cycle and apply it to a woman who is experiencing an entire different like hormonal way of living. Like that's truly insane to
Right.
Before we dive back in, I just wanted to say this. If you've been learning from these episodes, loving the guests, or just feeling seen from these conversations, do us a quick favor and please tap the follow button wherever you are listening to this. It helps us more than you know, and it means the world to us. When you follow the show, that lets us bring on even more experts, answer the questions that you care about, and keep growing the lively community with the support that you deserve. That's it. That's the ask. One tap to follow us is a huge step in helping more women understand their bodies. Okay, now grab your tea, your matcha, your coffee, and let's get back to the episode. I think for a lot of women listening, I'm sure they're very curious about like your journey with endometriosis and are probably on their own journey of figuring out like, okay, like I'm experiencing these symptoms, like what are the next steps? Like, what should I be doing? So can you share a little bit more about like your personal journey with endo and what that looked like for you and how that shaped your perspective on all of this?
Yeah, I feel like when I first started considering whether or not I had endometriosis, it started to just change who I was as a person, honestly, and how I approach a lot of things in my life. I think it was because I have such a clinical background and a background in academia that I was able to, please don't do this, but like self-diagnose, or I was like, I finally, after years of being told, most of my symptoms started with GI symptoms. So I was told I had IBS at like 12 years old, or that I had reoccurring UTIs, even if my cultures weren't coming back as positive, right? So I had spent years of my life being told these incorrect things. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I think that I have this. I think I have endometriosis. The terrible part of endometriosis currently is that in order to truly be diagnosed, you have to have laparoscopic surgery. So in order for a woman to even be told that she has confirmed disease, you have to be cut open. Like, there's so much to say about that. Not everybody has insurance, access to care.
100%.
Understandably scared to have surgery. So there's a lot to say about that. But in terms of my journey to diagnosis, I fully credit that to just all that I knew about, academia and the clinical side of things. And the single key piece here is me advocating for myself. And I think there's a lot to say about resilience. And if we don't have that resilience as women to advocate for ourselves, a lot of us don't find the answer. We could have a whole podcast about that, because not every woman is going to be able to be gaslit and gaslit and gaslit and continuously be able to show up for themselves. And that brings us right back to, again, access to care, all of that. So yeah, in terms of my journey, this has made me look at the world differently and how I look at people. And especially because I live with a chronic, like you said, invisible illness, somebody would look at me and not even know that something was wrong. And though that might seem great, it actually presents with many, many challenges. So
yeah, and I think specifically to what you're talking about of the initial surgery to even discover you have endo isn't the same as the one where you go into like for excision surgery. So like it's like such a long process. I think for so many women listening, what you talked about advocacy, if we're going to get into so much in this podcast, but for you guys listening, like if you, whether it's related to period pain or whether it's related to any other health symptom, like if you in your gut know that something is like not right, don't let anyone like finding a provider is like dating. Like you have to sometimes try like 5, 6, 7, hopefully that number shrinks, right? But like you have to, no one else is going to advocate for you. Like I think a lot of times we're waiting for somebody to come in and give us like a magic pill or like a magic to make us feel seen. And unfortunately, like you said, as messed up as it is, like don't let anyone take away like you, when you know that something is off. Like if you get anything out of this today, like make this your sign to know like there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're not crazy. Like you
live in your body. Nobody else lives in your body. Also, 2 quick things about that. It is like dating. It's also like interviewing them. Yeah. You're interviewing them. Yes. You are interviewing them to do your care for you. This is your medical care. For some women, we see multiple doctors, even if they are listening to us before we determine who's going to take care of us, right? So next time you step foot in a doctor's office, I know it's really scary, and I've been really timid in appointments too, where I'm like, oh, can I say this? Can I not say this? No, you can say anything you want to. This is your care. You're paying them to be in this appointment, first of all, but you're also interviewing them. And second, what you said about surgery is very true for many women, but if you have access to an endometriosis excision specialist, which is who you should be seeing if you have any inkling that you may have endometriosis, those surgeries can be put together. Personally, I would not want to be cut open and be like sewn back up and then, yeah, you have endo, and then we need to go in again. These excision specialists will do both at the same time. They will explore and they will remove and excise any endometriosis that they can at the same time. So
with that being said, what are things that you would advise people to look for in providers? Like when you're interviewing, what are you asking? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so in terms of endometriosis specifically, and with excision, surgery specifically, I actually have a highlight on my page called excision, and the very first slides there are like, there's so many questions. I couldn't even go over all of them right now with you, and you probably won't be able to go over every single one of those with every provider, right? But it's a really good place to start in terms of what do I even ask? What should I be considering? A couple of good immediate questions to ask are, how many surgeries are they doing in a month, in a year? You can ask for a year. I'd personally rather know, like, are you doing this once a day, once a week, once every couple months? Like I need to know that you're doing this because you're going to be cutting into my body. And a big thing for me was, I know it seems like nothing crazy, but bedside manner. I've been to doctors who have really good reputation in terms of surgery and outcomes, but I didn't like them and they didn't make me feel safe or heard. My surgeon that I found, amazing, Dr. Spring Robinson in San Diego, people are always asking me that. So that's who I see. She has the best bedside manner, where I just felt like I could talk to her and she was listening to me. To me, that's like the most important thing in terms of care.
100%. And I feel like the body also, if you don't feel safe, like it's hard for your body to, at least this is my belief based off my personal experience. Like if you don't feel safe with someone, it's really hard to communicate and get the care that you need, and also like get that same in return. I don't know, is that something
your nervous system is like 100%. Always on guard, right? So 100%. You're either in fight or flight or rest and digest. That's just a scientific fact. Most of us who are going through issues with women's health are always in fight or flight. But if you, let me tell you a very quick story. My surgeon, amazing job. She did a great job. She did my surgery, called my husband, let him know what was going on, what she removed. She actually went on vacation and actually moved practices to her own practice immediately after my surgery. So I didn't have a chance to follow up with her. And the other physician at this office would not recommend in any capacity. He didn't review any of my imaging. He didn't review my notes. I went in for my follow-up and he sat there and told me, you don't have endometriosis. Like, yeah, you don't have endometriosis. When I tell you that put me right back into fight or flight, crying, confused. And it wasn't until I finally got to see my doctor, review my images, and like hear from her that I had this. Oh my God, I'm just telling you this because yes, I mean, the second that I was around a person who didn't believe me, who was telling me something different, my body physically shut down again. So
Yeah. And again, I think a lot of people listening or have similar stories, experiences. You guys, if you have your own story with endo or with period pain or just being gaslit, like we want to let this podcast be your safe space to feel seen and heard. I know Savannah's page, like you have so many women there who, like, I think your page is a great resource and community. Which, can you give your handle just in case people?
yeah, it's my very long name. It's Savannah Regensburger. So it's very long.
So
Yes.
you guys will be able to see it there. But also, you guys, we want to know, so comment down below, like this, share this with a friend, but like comment, DM us. Like, we want to hear your stories because I think having a space in a community where you do feel seen and heard, like there's so many women who may not have that, but we want to be that space for you. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive in more about period pain. And period pain is like a signal telling us so much about our body, but I want to talk specifically about things like inflammation, estrogen dominance, gut-liver ties. Can we talk about those things in relation to period pain?
Yeah, so I'll talk about them also in relation to endometriosis and adenomyosis as well, and just like triggers in your mind that should come up.
Can I just really quickly ask you, for someone listening who doesn't know what adenomyosis is, could you break the difference between endo and that down?
Yes. So when it comes to endometriosis specifically, these are cells. I hate this definition because, well, let me get into it. But these are cells that are similar to the uterine lining that are growing, they say, outside of the uterus, which means, okay, maybe it could grow on the uterus or ovaries. That's adenomyosis, okay? And it is very, very, very painful for women. And typically, especially down the line, women go into like hysterectomy and things. When it comes to endometriosis, full body disease, it's been found in eyes, brain, in the legs, like literally everywhere all over the body.
Yeah. Okay, so back to inflammation, estrogen dominance, gut, liver, period pain, endo, all of the things. Yeah.
So I have a lot to say about this, and I'm so excited that we did get to like re-record because so much has happened in terms of how I see myself advocating for women's health. So I have endometriosis and celiac disease. Okay. So God forbid I eat bread. Like I can't have anything fun in life, but I have recognized how important it is to talk about life as a woman and our health as a woman, right? So everything you just said, gut, liver, inflammation, like we need to be focusing on all areas of our organ systems because contrary to popular belief, these are not separate organ systems. We are tied together through lymph, through blood, neurons. We are one human and all of our organ systems are connected, right? So in terms of things like estrogen dominance, for example, most women with endometriosis are estrogen dominant. We struggle to properly detox estrogen in our body. I am a big believer and I'm always preaching about working on the detox system. And that is not like teas or anything. No, this is super cool and free. You have a detox system in your body, a liver and 2 kidneys. So all we can do is focus on how we can better work on the system. When it comes to liver, this is getting deeper, but there's phase 1 and phase 2 detox of the liver, right? What I always tell women is, you can take some supplements, but your detox system also has to cleanse those from your body. We don't want to overwhelm the system more. Rather than adding in more, I would actually focus on how we can reduce the overload on the detox system. Sweat is the simplest way to do that. Yes. So many people are into like the little trampolines. I have one for rebounding, the little like shake plates. Love that. We want to keep the lymph moving. Saunas, infrared saunas, sauna blankets, going outside if it's hot and sweating. I'm not saying you have to do it consistently and always be sweating, but human beings, regardless of disease or not, we're not meant to just sit still all of the time. And personally, with my diseases, I feel worse when I am. I do rest, and we have to talk about that. There's so much to it, but I feel worse, especially in my joints, when I'm not moving. I feel worse when I'm not eating anti-inflammatory foods, when I'm not focusing on my gut microbiome. So all of that to say, the longest answer to your question is we have to focus on the full body system here.
I think so much of the advice that you see on the internet is like, you need more supplements, like more routines, more stuff. And I love what you said about like your body is already designed to like work for you, like find ways to support. And I love what you said about less, because I feel like that's way less overwhelming. Like it's so overwhelming to be like, I need to be taking like 15 supplements every morning and do this like 30-step routine. And like, yes, sometimes like you have to find like what's helpful for you. But I do think that with wellness culture, there has also come this shift of like setting this, like you basically need to like not have a job and not do anything other than wellness to like survive. And that's just like it's not realistic for most people.
It's like a full-time job for sure to like take care of yourself. Also, I have a master's in business, and you know, I get it. I have a lot of background in marketing myself. Think of your body as like a business, honestly. What would you be doing? Like, what would you be outsourcing? What's actually worth it? Are we going to be like spending money on a bunch of things that we don't actually know is going to make our business run better? No, like we're going to focus on the systems that we know actually function correctly.
Okay. Are there certain signs or symptoms that we need to be listening to that our bodies are asking for more support?
Yeah, so many. Let me start by like framing this conversation with this. So this is going to probably scare some people. This is not a scare tactic. This is just like reality, right? As women, we're talking about women. We are born, we live a few fun years of adolescence, and then we hit menarche, which is our first period ever. From there, we are premenopausal. We are working our way to menopause literally from then. And I know that sounds really, really scary, but similar to understanding the phases of your cycle, right? So what's going on every single, 28 to 32 days for you. Understanding the phases of your life as we're working through menopausal, changes are very, very important. So we're premenopausal until, 40s-ish, typically menopause onset is 52, 53. With that being said, understanding the fluctuation of your hormones throughout these phases of your life. As we get into perimenopause, which is the phase right before menopause, typically our hormones, our estrogen, our progesterone, testosterone should be good. We should be energized. We should be feeling good. So if you're in your 20s and you feel like crap, immediate sign to start looking deeper. I'm not saying to, immediately run to the doctor, but look at phases of your life. I always break them up into nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, mental health, and social health, because contrary to popular belief, social health is part of our health. Our brains, we as human beings are social creatures. So look at those areas of your life. If you have done everything under the sun and moon and you're like, I'm still not feeling good, this is a really big sign to maybe go to the doctor and try to figure out how you can advocate for yourself. That's a whole different conversation. And we could have so many conversations. I know. Advocating.
Every single one of these, I'm like, we could just go down.
Yeah. We could just go down the rabbit hole. But like literally walking into the doctor's office and like having these conversations, like I know it's a challenge. But with that being said, the whole point of what I wanted to mention here is as you get into perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, fun thing is estrogen just like declines. So just start to educate yourself a bit as a woman on what the phases of not only your cycle are, but the phases of your life and what age ranges and phases of your life that you're currently in and how you should be, feeling throughout them.
That is such good advice. And we hear about like cycle syncing all the time, or just like understanding your cycle phases. But I think most women, like my mom is entering menopause, and it's so insane how truly, especially I think at least the conversations are being more normalized, I feel like within our generation, but the generation above us and even within ours, like there's so many people who like, we're not even aware of the phases we're entering or like what goes on through them until we're there. And there's like so much you can do to prepare and make your life easier and support your body through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get back to the conversation really quickly. But first, I wanna take a brief moment to tell you about a tool that can really help you with understanding your body. If you've ever wished that you could truly understand your body, Lively can help. It's the most personalized women's health companion for your cycle, hormones, and every stage of womanhood, from your first period and pregnancy to menopause. Finally understand your cycle phase and what your body needs, sync your workouts and nutrition, plan for pregnancy, and make sense of your hormones with tools made by women health experts. Get daily tips for your energy, mood, and well-being, plus a private space that your partner can use to better support you. All with privacy that you can trust. Trusted by millions of women worldwide. Try it free for 7 days on the App Store or Google Play. Search Lively, create your account, and start living in sync with your body. I use Lively. I love it. I've used it for multiple years now, and it is probably my favorite tool that I have. Okay, back to the episode. Okay, so talking about chronic pain, how does chronic pain relate to overall hormone imbalance and dysfunction?
Yeah, so let's talk about, we're talking about endo, right? So let's talk about in terms of chronic pain within chronic illness as well. So if you are experiencing, like I said, painful ovulation, painful periods, brain fog, fatigue, headache, migraines, because again, it's probably going to present as pain in more areas of the body than just in the pelvic region. In terms of like estrogen specifically, that immediately signals to me and my brain like there may be a level of estrogen dominance here. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever talked about like Dutch tests or anything here on the podcast. Blood tests. Have you talked about those at all?
We've had some providers mention them, but you should totally talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. There's like such a conflict in terms of like traditional medicine too. Like you can take a Dutch test to an MD or DO and they may not even like recognize it or throw it out. It is definitely a functional medicine tool, but for a lot of people, we have no other choice but to start digging deeper when we've done all the traditional medicine routes and had this conversation and we're just told repeatedly everything is normal. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to that. So my understanding is that in a lot of traditional medicine, when you bring your labs to a doctor, they're comparing you to the like average person. They're comparing your labs to like the average labs. And so just because something isn't like showing, it doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong with you, because like in functional medicine, it's more targeted to reading your labs through an optimal level. Am I wrong?
Right. And to your body, right? So two things there. Yeah. Just because you're in the normal range doesn't mean it's optimal for you. Like, honestly, we have to figure that out for each lab, which can be a challenge and an experiment. We're also using this range. Like if you get a lab, seeing if I had a client's labs next to me, but you get labs back and you have this green range, which is big. And then you have these like low and high ranges. This range is huge. And this is measuring the people who go into the doctor's office, first of all, who get their blood tests done. There's a lot of people who don't. And this is measuring typically an unhealthy population within the United States. So we're being compared to an unhealthy population and a huge range of what can be normal for that. That's not even looking at optimal, it's looking at normal. So 100%. I personally am a believer in a couple of functional tests being GI map or Dutch test. Doesn't have to be for every single person.
I've done the Dutch and it changed. Like I was like, why have I never been told about this before? Yeah.
Right. And it looks at, I mean, you've done it, so you know it. You're doing multiple urine and saliva samples throughout the day. You're not just getting like one time point, you're getting multiple data points. Realistically, we'd love to have like a whole month's worth of data, right? But we typically just get the single day. So I'm a fan for a lot of people. It doesn't mean that you have to run out and spend like thousands of dollars on testing. So all of this to say, in terms of estrogen dominance, if I'm seeing these painful symptoms, I would probably either utilize patient insurance if they have it and get blood tests done with their doctor, request estradiol, request testosterone, progesterone. If those come back normal and they're still experiencing symptoms, probably going to help find them an excision specialist, an endometriosis doctor, and probably run something like a Dutch test to see if they're exhibiting, estrogen dominance throughout the body.
So good. So shifting into like practical advice and lifestyle and nutrition tools for people, what should someone be looking at nutrition and lifestyle wise to start helping support their period pain symptoms naturally?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people automatically think that like you have to run to a doctor if you're starting to experience struggles within your health. A lot of people are so fearful of doctors these days, which I get it. There is a point, I'll say right now, I get to a point with a lot of clients that I work with, which I will say most of the population I work with is endo, PCOS, adenomyosis, where we've done all the things, lifestyle, nutrition, and I'm like, look, I would be doing you a disservice if I kept charging you for nutrition services when I know that you need to see somebody who can
Yep.
actually help your disease, right? That being said, if you haven't even touched that yet, if you haven't started the lifestyle side of things, there's so much work to be done. And I know it sounds overwhelming, but it's actually really exciting because there's a lot of wiggle room here. So you can work on anti-inflammatory eating. And with this whole new food pyramid thing coming out, I know it's very confusing. Think balanced plate. I talk about this on my page all the time as well. Think you want quality protein, but we don't need to overdo it right now. Like in the world of nutrition, it's always something like protein's bad, protein's good, fiber's good. We don't need as much. Eggs are bad, eggs are good, coffee. Like it's always something. We just have to get back to the basics, right? So you do need
Yes.
quality lean protein. We need a good amount of fiber because colon cancer is on the rise like crazy. How do we combat that? We eat fiber. We don't need to
Yep.
overwhelm the system with a ton of protein. And then, incorporating carbohydrates and healthy fats here. So that can be things like beans, rice, legumes, quinoa, sweet
So
potatoes.
good.
There's so many options here that we can do when it comes to anti-inflammatory eating. So try to stick to that. And when it comes to healthy fats, think omegas, think avocados, think fish, olives, olive oil, all of that. In terms of movement, and I'm sure you guys talk about cycle training and everything, there's also so many arguments out there. Literally get off your phone. I don't care what argument is out there. What is needed for your body because every
Yeah.
single body is different. We can have a full conversation on genetics, epigenetics, how things present in our body. I used to be able to weight train, like not exercise, like train in a gym 4 to 5 days a week, heavy lifting. Like that was one of my biggest passions. Since I was diagnosed with endometriosis and autoimmunity, like I just can't do that to that same level anymore. Highly recommend still doing some type of strength and resistance training because we don't want to do anything to harm our body, like, increase risk of osteoporosis or anything like that. But trying to figure out what's going to be best for you. For me personally, I'm always asked this too, what my movement looks like. After surgery, I just had surgery. It was rough. I started getting into walking and then I got into a little bit more of like Pilates movements. Now I do weights or like a yoga sculpt a couple times a week, walk, and then really some type of like really focused strength training and sauna. So it's so different for everybody, but focus on what works best for you.
I love how much you emphasize like how important it is to understand your body because no app, no other person, like no other program understands what it's like to be in your body and like what feels good and what doesn't. And like you said earlier, even though like the basics are there, like you need movement, like you need some sort of like resistance training as much as possible, but like listen to your body. And I can say from my personal experience, and I'm sure that there's tons of people out there who can relate, but like growing up, especially when you're taught to think like a man and on a man's training schedule, you're like, I have to do the same thing every single day, every single week, or like I'm weak or I'm a failure. At least that was like my mindset. And
Did
now
you grow
under,
up playing sports?
yeah, I grew up in very competitive sports. So I
Same.
did,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And it was so insane because when you don't have an understanding of like the changes that are happening in your body, you can feel like, okay, like, am I getting weaker? Like, am I like, am I mentally weak? Like, what's wrong with me? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, I love the idea of like looking at your life in like seasons or cycles rather than just like on a day-to-day basis, because just because like one week I don't have as much energy doesn't mean I'm like actually like losing progress or losing momentum. It just means like the way we go about it it's so much more useful for yourself and your body. I love that you stress that.
It's all about consistency too, right? Like you'd have to stop working out and eat a surplus of calories to like actually gain a pound of
Yes.
fat over
Yeah.
like a few weeks, couple
Yep.
months. Also, we could have a full conversation about sports. You should totally do
Oh
that
my gosh.
at some point
Yes.
because while I think I actually credit my resilience in life to growing up playing sports and like me
Yeah.
getting pissed off going into doctor's offices and them like not giving me answers. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna
Learned
I'm gonna
Yeah.
cry and I'm gonna go to another one. It did so much for me, but It also, I actually gave a talk in New York City, and it was about endometriosis and giving up dreams in my life. And truly, playing softball and playing sports competitively was the very first dream I ever had to walk away from because
Yeah.
my pain wasn't taken seriously as a young
Yeah.
girl. So.
Yeah. No, I think there's so many people who can relate, and especially you're so right. I think we should do an entire episode just talking about there's so many things. We're gonna have to have a million of these. So, okay, we are we could talk forever, but we are starting to near the end of our time in this conversation. So, I wanted to ask and open up the door. Are there any other simple daily habits that people listening can start implementing to support having a less painful cycle?
Yeah, so this is probably gonna shock people. I'm not gonna give you like actual things because again, it's different. And I know that's not always helpful, but I want it to be. So in terms of, I could tell you what my daily cycle looks like and what my daily like rhythm looks like, a routine, and that's not gonna be the same for you.
100%.
It is literally gonna be experimenting. And to be honest, I don't want to give you a to-do list. I want to give you permission to chill out a bit. So this is going to sound so crazy and dumb, but the very first thing that I really started to do when I was like, I'm going to start taking care of myself is literally making my bed. Even if in an hour I'm having pain and I'm going to crawl back into it again, it just helped me feel good. And it honestly helped me build routine. It clicked in my brain. I don't know if you've ever read the book Atomic Habits. Like you just have to do something.
I
Like
was just
1%
about to
better.
message that when you started talking about this, I was like, yes, keep going. I love
So
this.
that's like what triggered this. So go read that book. It's not overwhelming in terms of like you got to do all these things. The whole emphasis in the book is getting 1% better every day, and that doesn't have to like mean doing something physical. It can also mean resting, right? So I started making my bed, and I've made my bed for years now. It's like I get up and I do it. It takes me 30 seconds. I don't have a bunch of pillows or anything, so it
Yeah.
could take longer, but just something simple. From there, I literally go and I take my supplements that I do take, very targeted, want to specify that to my body. I drink my matcha and I kind of chill and I get ready for the day and then I eat breakfast. I work from home, so that's not going to be the same as everybody else, right? So
Yeah.
do one thing every day that you can find consistency with, and then figure out how you can build your lifestyle around what your work looks like, what your just typical day-to-day life will look like.
I love that this is the direction you took this in because there truly is no one size fits all magic routine, magic pill, like magic habit. It's exactly what you said of experimenting with your life. And you guys, I think it's so helpful to hear other people's stories and to get inspiration of like, okay, what's worked for different people? What are different foods that I should try? What are understanding like the science behind different groups, anti-inflammatory eating, movement, different types of movement, different types of schedules, different types of like all of it. And you have to experiment with it. And I would say another couple helpful resources is obviously follow people like Savannah, follow people and like get inspiration from them. But also if you're looking to just get like a wider range of tools in your toolbox that you can experiment with. On the Lively app, we have so many different suggestions for things you can eat, move, and do. And it's, again, not a one-size-fits-all routine, but a way for you to be able to come through and just like experiment, customize, track, like get data on your own body. See, and I love what you mentioned about like, you don't have to do everything at once. Like, it's those micro, like the way you change your life is by changing those little habits consistently until they become natural. And then you can add in another little one and another little one. If it's overwhelming, like even clean eating, like if you eat clean, but you're so stressed about eating clean, like you're spiking your cortisol and then the stress can lead to other disease. And it's just like, it's funny. Wellness is funny because it's like at the same time, it's like do more, but do less. Like find a
Yep.
way that works for you.
Yeah, I also like how you bring up the inspiration. This comes from like years of neuroscience training and understanding about mindfulness. But I think social media has ruined this for us. The whole purpose of like following people and it's truly to get inspiration, right? It can be so easy to compare yourself to somebody, and we've all been there and done that. So really tailor whatever you're consuming on a day-to-day basis, because consumption doesn't just mean what you're putting in your body, it's what you're watching and listening
Good.
to. Follow people who you actually like look up to that can inspire you, that don't make you feel overwhelmed, and take it day by day and step by step. When it comes to nutrition, I have clients who I'm like, this next week, all we're gonna do is focus on eating broccoli once a day. They're like, you just want, that's why I hired you to help me with your nutrition or my nutrition. I'm like, yes, I know it seems crazy, but in a year, after all of these weeks that we've done, you'll have a completely changed, way of living and lifestyle. So it's just so hard. I think this world today has made us definitely not patient, but the journey, it's all about the journey. It's not an end goal. So
1000%. So we have a tradition. We ask every guest on the podcast, what is one question that you wish that people asked you more often?
Oh, I can't even remember what I said last time we recorded this. My big thing right now with it being January and a new year, is rest. People are always asking me about like things that I do. How do I eat? How do I move? All these things. School, they've asked me every question, the sun and the moon. Rarely do people ask you how you are, which I know this is like so simple. But truly we're always focusing on how we can get better and all these steps and how to, achieve more. My theme lately has been doing less and like truly giving my body permission to rest and recover. I'm big on goals, but this time of the year, the holidays, the new year, it's so exhausting for people and people get like such change fatigue with it. And I just wish that people would ask me, and I challenge myself to ask other people more like how they're actually doing during these times, especially when we're talking about endometriosis and women's health. Like we have to be focusing in on mental health because out of all things, I can deal with pain. Women can deal with pain, right? It's the impact that it has on you and your life mentally and how it changes you that truly like affects you long term. So just ask people how they are.
I love that. Also, I am such a firm believer that how you do what you do matters way more than how much you're doing. And so, I mean, it goes back to the mindfulness thing you were talking about earlier, but we have this like whole thing backwards where it's like, I need to do more, achieve more, be more, whatever. It's like, honestly, rest is the most productive thing that you can do for yourself because it gives you the margin in your life to actually show up to the few things that you do well. And like that will do so much more for you than like constantly filling your schedule. I could listen to you talk all day. Like, you're so good at this. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It like went and then it's gone. There it goes. I was just going to say really quickly to that. Sleep, in my opinion, if you ask me like what somebody could start today, you did ask me that. I should have also mentioned this. Sleep and rest are literally so underrated for your health. Think of your brain and your body as think of your body as a car and your brain as the engine. Like you would not just leave a car running consistently. The car would die. It would run out of oil. It wouldn't be able to continue. Your rest and sleep and quality sleep is what rejuvenates you and gives you energy to move forward. Like please sleep and rest. It's so important.
So good. Before we wrap up, guys, well, first, Savannah, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to learn more, follow your work, and like get access to you, like where can they do that? Where can they find you?
Yeah, there's so much happening right now, but follow my Instagram. It's Savannah Regensburger. I'm on TikTok as Sav Regensburger as well. But my goal this year has actually been, I've reduced working with people one-on-one because there's only one of me and there's so many of you and it's awesome. But I'm like, okay, how can I educate the masses here? So I do have a free community WhatsApp. There's so many subgroups in there. If you're going through menopause, if you're having gut health issues, SIBO, if you have endo, PCOS, interstitial cystitis, bladder conditions, that's a free place to just connect. And I'm doing monthly free calls just with the community. And then I'm starting a Substack, which is really the answer to your question in terms of like, if you want to learn, if you want access to labs, to Dutch testing, to GI maps, if you want to figure out how to eat and move your body, that's going to be the place to do it. So that just launched.
Okay. I'm so excited for this. So you guys definitely go check that out. And it'll also be in the show notes. So go ahead and check those out as well. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you guys with this. Your cycle is not something that you just have to push through, ignore, or just deal with. The more that you track and tune into your own body, the more that you're going to see patterns, connect the dots, and actually start working with your body instead of against it. If you've been experiencing pain or confusion and just not feeling like your best self, just know that you are not alone in that and that your cycle really is a vital sign. Your period pain isn't just some random random thing that you have to deal with, but it's something that's trying to communicate with you about your body. And be sure to share this episode with a friend. You guys, this is something that truly is not talked enough about. Share this with somebody. Help someone else get in tune with their own body and their own pain and cycle and life experience. And if you guys haven't already, follow the Ask Lively podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and leave a 5-star review if this was something that was helpful for you. And on top of that, we want to hear from you guys. So please DM us, join our broadcast channel, comment below. Like, we want to hear your thoughts. What are your experiences? This platform is a place for you as well. And last but not least, download the Lively app, and we have a free version of it for you so that you can start tracking and getting in tune with your body. And we believe that all women deserve to have the tools that they need to take care of themselves. So, Savannah, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys next time.